I reached the top of the hill, I was greeted by a familiar scene, the bowl-shaped hollow. In the middle of it stood a sheltered cabin. I was about to run down the slope, just before I took it, I suddenly stopped. A shadow had entered my vision. The eastern sky had already begun to brighten. Against the illuminated background, I realized pretty quickly whose shadow it was. Cocoro! Cocoro was running at the snow-covered slope, right across from where I was standing. She was there, the shelter cabin between me and her. Don't follow me! Get back to the cabin! Get back right now! Cocoro stopped halfway up the slope and turned around. Lynn and Uni had appeared just behind her. They were climbing up the snowy slope, chasing after Cocoro. If they kept going, they would escape the circle. Good timing, that seems to be getting them out of myself. But Yomogi, couldn't see him. Did he stay in the cabin by himself? I started moving before I could stop to think about what happened. Kicking up the deep snow, I ran down the gentle slope. I flung the door open and threw myself in. There was no one there. Cast off shell. The room deep with its occupants was deeply ominous, still as death. I tried looking down in the ground storeroom, but Yomogi wasn't there. Why? Why isn't he here? Damn, where'd the old Geezer go? I turned on my heel and rushed back outwards. The only two trails through the snow, one is mine, the other belongs to Cocoro, Lin, and Uni, when they left to climb the slope. The second trail continued uninterrupted to the summit. I couldn't see them. Damn it. And with a shout of frustration, I resumed running. I had to ask them about Yomogi. I reached the summit. Signs of their passage through the snow continued to the coast, where they vanished. I scanned the shoreline for them. The great curve of the sandy beach. I spotted them a little to the north of where I was. I ran and ran and ran. Once I got to the beach, I ran along the water's snowless edge. The wounds on my arm and back hadn't completely healed yet. I was all worn out. My energy was quickly running out, but I couldn't stop. Spurring my battered body forward, I ran on. Uni was crouched on the beach, splashing playfully in the waves. Cocoro was next to him. Only Lin stood up, looking down at them. At that moment, Uni's head suddenly shot up. He'd noticed me. He turned to the other two and said something I couldn't catch. Cocoro looked up at me. She got to her feet and suddenly came running towards me. Yomogi-san! Yomogi? Why Yomogi? I tried to look back over my shoulder while still running, but there was no way Yomogi could be there. The distance between Cocoro and I gradually began narrower. Suddenly Cocoro stopped short. Oh, this is the ending to Cocoro's. I didn't stop running. The distance separating us grew shorter and shorter. Satoru, she murmured. She knit her brow, her pupils swimming. She was clearly shocked. She was struggling to come to terms with the situation before her. I see. Finally understood why she yelled Yomogi-san when she caught sight of me. She doesn't know anything about the space-time transfer, nor about the three areas. She can't comprehend why there's a beach here, nor why I suddenly appeared. Yo. She stood before me, gazed at her, my shoulders heaving. Cocoro and I stood on the beach, gazing at each other's faces as the sunrise illuminated us. Why? Why are you here, Satoru? Her voice trembled, as she barely managed to speak. I was at a loss for how to answer. How could I explain everything to her? I did nothing but stand motionless, my eyes fixed on her, not saying a word. I know why she's here, but now that I was face to face with her like this, I felt a little strange. The one I always wanted to meet, but never could. Even though we hadn't spoken even once, she felt closer to me than anyone else. And here she was at last, right before my eyes. She had her own will and she was talking to me. That body, which I could freely control until days ago, it's not mine anymore. It wasn't, but it was so much like my own body and at the same time like anything else. Another self. A strange feeling I couldn't possibly describe. But now's not the time to get wrapped up in such warm emotions. The three of them escaped from the circle. That's all well and good, but what about Yomogi? Where did Yomogi go? The next instant. I see. So that's how it is after all. As though I'd received divine guidance, I understood everything at once. Cocoro had shouted Yomogi-san when she saw me from far away. Yomogi probably left the circle before they transferred. So Cocoro crawled out of the bowl-shaped hollow to go look for him, which means that right now Yomogi is. Satoru, hey, why? Cocoro tried to say something. We'll talk later. I interrupted her with a stern declaration. But don't hurry, something terrible will happen. What do you mean something terrible? You guys wait here. I had no time to waste. After leaving my warning with Cocoro, I started to run. Wait! Where are you going? Cocoro chased after me. Wait, please! Don't follow me. I didn't have time to explain. I kept running trying to shake her off, as she kept calling after me. Present time, 5:53. Only 1 minute before the next transfer. I stepped onto the snow. The circle is right ahead. I can't return to Mount Cocoro if I don't enter the transfer area. But... damn, I didn't make it. The gate of sphere stood open before me. I dragged myself through it on leaden feet. What is this? Where did the shelter cabin go? Cocoro followed me. She was dumbfounded as though her soul had left her body. Where are Lin and Uni? I think they ran after me, but... I left Cocoro there and went back through a gate. I took a look around for them. They found them pretty quickly. Lin stood there in open mouth, shocked, staring up at the high wall. Right next to there was Uni, who was somehow calm. Uni, I'm leaving Lin to you. Uni simply nodded. He took Lin's arm and dragged her back out towards the coast. She looked back at me again and again, her head inclined to the side in puzzlement. After I watched them leave, I returned to Cocoro. Alright, now you leave too. I put a hand on Kokoro's shoulder and urged her towards the gate. Wait just a minute. What's going on? What's the meaning of this? Why is Sphere here? The shelter cabin was just right here, just a second ago. So how? And you, Satoru, how can you be here? Since this is Sphere, I guess it's natural for Satoru to be here. But then what about me? How can I be here? Lots of questions. What the heck is going on? Satoru, you know what's happening, don't you? Tell me what's going on. I'm not taking another step until you do. She expelled all that in a single breath. Overpowered, I shrank back. There was no way I'd be able to fool her so easily in this late in the game. Heaved a sigh. Follow me. And I started walking towards the entrance of the facility. There's nobody here. There's nobody here. I guess it's still pretty early in the morning, huh? Cocoro said as she restfully looked around. It feels kind of weird. I was always borrowing your body during my time here. Feels like I snuck into a movie set. What a weird feeling. I guess. What's with that? Do you really have to be so blunt? Maybe. Cocoro grew sulky and threw herself down on one of the dining area chairs with a thump. I'll explain everything later. Before that, please just sit tight for a minute. I'm worried about something. Worried? Without replying to her, I started walking. Cocoro came pattering along after me. What is this? How in the world? Just what happened here? Cocoro reacted vehemently to the ruined living area. It'd be a pain to explain it all now. I left Cocoro behind and headed for Uni's room. I opened the door and peeked inside. Huh? Uni isn't here. Yep, looks like it. More importantly, the living area! Cocoro, who chased after me, pointed to the living area, still pestering me about it. Even so, I pretended not to listen to her. Next, I headed to Utsumi's room. Utsumi-san isn't here either. That's odd. Where could she be, I wonder? Anyway, why don't you tell me what happened in the living area? Finally, I peeked into Tori's room. Huh? Tori-chan isn't here either. No way. We looked in everyone's rooms, but none of them were there. Then something jumped into my head and I began to run. Where are you going now? Can you please stop running off without saying anything? Her voice reached my back. Can't be helped, I should answer. The basement. You mean they're in the basement? I don't know. That's why they probably ran out the gate because it was wide open, right? I ran past the living area and into the dining area. Dashed down the stairs to the basement storeroom. As I thought no one was down there either. Ran into the small room where Anamoto had once hidden. Was there always a room here? She sounded so carefree. Looks like she still hasn't realized the severity of the situation. I left her alone and began to examine the video data. Tuesday, January 17th. Time 5:20 AM. Front gate. First transfer occurred at 4:48, which means that Sphere was at Mount Cocoro. With the front gate open, before long Utsumi and Uni appeared on screen, followed by Tori. Tori kept herself at a distance, walking slightly behind the two. And then all three of them vanished as if sucked into the background, heading for the gate. They went outside. Cocoro was watching the video from over my shoulder. As carefree as ever. Perhaps all the abnormal events happening in such quick succession messed up the way she thinks. I silently continued my review of the data. Couldn't concern myself with Cocoro right now. After rewinding the recording, I found that Isami and Uni had left Sphere to search for me. Sumi, who'd noticed my disappearance, she worked Uni after a brief search that came to the open gate. They figured that I'd probably gone out the gate, so with the intention of pursuing me, they left Sphere. It looked like Tori alone had a different goal. Rather than looking for me, it was simply a case of the gate was open, so I felt like going out. Taking advantage of this, she could have been planning to escape from Sphere. Anyway, at 5:20 AM, the three of them walked out of Sphere's circle, and they never came back, because only 1 minute later a transfer occurred. They are now in Mount Cocoro 1 year ago. A snowy mountain in the dead of winter, trapped out there in the middle of a blizzard. 2 women and 1 little boy. At that moment I understood everything. Shit. So that's it. Why didn't I notice it sooner? Did he just punch something? I struck the console with my clenched fists. What's wrong? When I turned around, I was met with an impressive look from Cocoro. Cocoro, please tell me about Yomugi-san. The color of Kokoro's face instantly drained. That's right, how could I forget something so important? Yomugi-san, I have to go help him. She spun around to face the door, her hair flying widely in every direction. Wait, there's no point in going now. I grabbed her arm to stop her. Come on, what is it already? Just what's going on? You said you'd explain, but you're not telling me anything. I'll explain right now. First, will you tell me this? Is Yomugi-san in Mount Cocoro right now? And when I say Mount Cocoro, I mean the Mount Cocoro without the sea. Yeah. He ran out into the blizzard after me. That's why I have to... I see, so it's just a thought. Cocoro, do you remember the article from the newspaper? I couldn't even if I wanted to. This was written there, right? 3 decomposed male and female corpses found in Mount Cocoro. Ooh. Ooh. I just realized. Itsumi, Hitori, and Yamagi are both there now. All there now. That's 3. And Uni's there, but he survived. So what if we've just changed history, except it's different people? And they get decomposed so we can't actually tell who they are. Missing passages from the Hell Crash. Missing passages from Hell Crash. Yeah. 3 decomposed and female corpses. Those 2 female corpses weren't yours and Len's. Eh? The corpses that article was talking about weren't those of Yomugi-san, Kuroko, and Lin, but of Yomugi-san, Natsumi-san, and Hitori. It's those 3. What do you... I explained everything to Kuroko from the start to finish. About the space-time transfer of the 3 exchange points, the existence of a middle point called Hatoropi Mine, explaining it as understandably as I could and making use of the video data to back it up. I told her about what happened to our bodies without omitting a single detail, although I didn't say anything about the identity of Alpha. I believed it'd be better to tell her that there was another person. It'd be enough to tell her there was another person. I didn't want to burden her unreasonably. No, no way! After I finished, she tried in vain to form a coherent sentence. Her hollow eyes were fixed on the screen. That's why I said there's no point in going now. We have no choice but to wait for the next transfer. Then you're not going to save Yomugi-san? What happened to Itsumi-san? What happened to Hitori-chan? And Uni? You're very right, just settle down for now. It's too early to give up. Right now, took my wristwatch out of my pocket and checked the time. It's 6:10. The avalanche will occur at 6:53. You still have 40 minutes. Don't you mean only 40 minutes? The avalanche is going to hit 1 kilometer from here, right? Even if it went right now, will we even make it in time? And this isn't the shelter cabin. If it were, we'd know when the transfer would occur, right? But this is Sphere and Asagi Island. The transfers just happen at random, right? Yeah, and that's why, conversely, if it were to happen right at this moment, it wouldn't be strange at all, is what you're saying. Yeah. Then what are we doing here? Who knows? I shrugged my shoulders. My gesture made Kokoro's eyebrows go flying up. Sheesh, why didn't you say so sooner? She flew out of the room. I hurriedly did the same. We returned to the surface, heading for the front gate. As we ran towards it, a transfer. Could this be called divine protection? Perfectly timed space-time transfer occurred. I knew that due to the way the scenery on the other side suddenly transformed. Of course, that was the only one of the reasons, but more importantly, we were suddenly engulfed in a raging blizzard. I guess it was a consequence of the drop in atmospheric pressure. I suddenly felt an acute pain stabbing in my eardrums. How could I care about such trivial pain? Compared to the other wounds on my back and left arm, there was hardly even worth mentioning. We passed through the gate. A mantle of white snow shrouded everything we could see. Visibility was terrible. We could barely make our own feet. Cocoro was silent. We didn't say a word about the transfer. She only shot the most fleeting of glances at me and then nodded. She had such a gallant expression on her face that it almost made me forget her gender. Let's get going. And with those 3 words we ran east. I knew that the gate faced north, and I knew that the location where the avalanche would occur was located east. Sooner or later I lost my bearings, but I kept marching along under these conditions. What could I do? While I was busy thinking about that, Cocoro was getting further and further away from me. She plowed on through the blizzard, moving so fast I could hardly see her anymore. I had no choice but to go, I had no choice but to move forward. Trying to avoid the snowflakes that struck my face with the force of a slap, I charged after Cocoro. I finally caught up to her. I couldn't make her take the lead. I ran in front of her and stood in the path. Do you know which way it is? East, right? You know which way east is? From here, we just have to keep going straight ahead, right? I pointed forward as I continued rustling forward through the deep snow. Tap tap, something tapped on my shoulders. I turned around. Cocoro held her outstretched hand in front of me. In the palm of the hand was a compass. Yep. Why didn't you tell me sooner? That's why I'm telling you now. Okay, thank you. I took it and started walking again. I could hear Cocoro breathing behind me. After a while, thank you. She repeated the very same words. Thanks for what? For taking the lead. And for everything you've done up till now. I pretended I hadn't heard that and continued intently. Identification. 20 minutes had passed since we began our march. Our destination wasn't yet in sight. Not that we could spot Yomogi even 5 meters away through the snowstorm. A world covered in white. No matter how far we went, the scenery didn't change one bit. I began to doubt that we were actually getting any closer to our destination. I checked the compass again and again. The needle was always pointing left. No doubt about it, we were definitely heading west. 18 more minutes until the avalanche. Please let us make it in time. Please. I stopped being able to feel my toes long ago. The tips of my fingers were going numb. The chill had reached the core of my spine and was eating into it. I couldn't move the way I wanted to. A cold that strangled my whole body like a thick chain. Innumerable snowflakes hurled themselves past me as though crazed. Ice crystals slashed relentlessly at my cheeks and then the nape of my neck. Suddenly I noticed something. The breathing I'd heard until then had vanished. I turned around. Cocoro wasn't there. How? I retraced my footsteps through the snow. Cocoro! My cry brought no response. They were all erased by the howl of the blizzard. Cocoro! Yet I continued my desperate yelling. Finally I caught sight of her. Cocoro was lying in the snow. I rushed over and lifted her up in my arms. Pull yourself together. She'd lost consciousness. She didn't even twitch. From what I'd heard earlier, she went to the location where the avalanche would occur last night. It was the second time she tried to go there. Her physical strength was at its limits. In the brutal cold of the blizzard, she kept walking forward, sustained only by her own willpower. Cocoro, wake up! I shook her shoulders hard. Her eyes fluttered open. Satoru, I'm fine, so... Quick, go to the others. Please save them for me. Idiot! No way am I leaving you behind. Satoru, you're really just like I imagined you. I always believed in you, Satoru. Satoru, I knew how do I say this? That you're a cool guy. You idiot. Don't talk to me like you're about to die. Everything's over if you die. But I can't. If you can't walk, then I'll carry you. Possible. No, it's not. And if it is, I don't care. I'll do it anyway. Why? Satoru, what if you die too? Didn't I write it in one of my messages? I take it upon myself to always repay favors. So, Satoru. And besides that, your body doesn't just belong to you anymore. Even if your life doesn't just belong to you. Didn't I say before? We're united in body and soul. Even if the transfers never happened again, I don't want to lose you. Idiot, what are you? Say whatever you want. I'm carrying you anyway. I did as I said, I'm shifting her onto my back. You really are an idiot doing this. A soft voice right by my ear. But even though you may be a fool, thank you. I'll pay it all back, double, understand? 24,860 meters worth. Shut up. If you have enough energy to say all that, I'll make you walk. She didn't answer. Suddenly I felt her body fall upon me. She'd lost consciousness again. All I could hear was the frighteningly faint sound of her breathing. Present time, 6:48. 5 minutes until the avalanche. Yomogi-san! Sumi-san! Tori! Uni! Even though I knew it was futile, I couldn't help but shout. No answer. Only the sound of the raging wind, like the screams of God of Death, answered me. I too, after walking this far, was beginning to feel my consciousness slip away. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a black shadow flicker. Maybe it was just an illusion of the Grim Reaper. I took one step forward, then another, but it was only myself I had to move. Cocoro's body was like a leaden weight on my back. The cold ate into my lungs. The blizzard that salt never once let up. My frozen limbs began to cramp and spasm. It felt like a freezing sinews were beginning to crack. Sharp pain ran through my whole body, but it wouldn't stop. I wouldn't give up, not a chance. I walked and walked and walked. I plunged forward through the blizzard. I shook off that illusion of death and I walked. With the compass still clutched tightly in my right hand and my wristwatch on my left. The present time according to the watch was 6:50. Damn it. Yomogi-san, Tsumi-san, Tori, Uni! Anyone. Please, someone answer me. And right then, hey, over here! An auditory hallucination. My concern appeared through the whirling snow. For a single instant, my field of vision was clear. Halfway up a steep slope stood Yomogi. Not just Yomogi. Tsumi and Tori were there with him. Uni was the only one missing. Oh well, at any rate, I'd better hurry. Yomogi-san. I pulled Cocoro down and ran so quickly through the snow I thought I'd take off. I rushed over to him. Yukidoh-kun! Satoru? Who are you? We had no time for chit-chat. I caught a glimpse of my watch display. 6:52. This is bad. Quickly, this way. Eh? What's wrong? Just follow me. We're out of time. But he's injured. Huh? I looked over in the same direction as it saw me and saw Yomogi clutching into one of his legs. Why? God damn, you gotta be kidding me. You call yourself a pro mountaineer? Oh, that tone. Can't be. Give it a rest. I'm not talking to shut up. And at the very next moment, suddenly the earth roared. A grave echo surged up from the core of the earth. At the same time, my field of vision began to vibrate. An earthquake? See, the avalanche was caused by an earthquake. Then I thought about it, Cocoro once wrote that an earthquake occurred as fear in one of her messages. Perhaps the Mount Cocoro was experiencing a succession of them. But enough of that. I have to get them out of here before. Looked up the mountain ridge. At the gathering below of white, swallowing up the slope like a muddy stream, it came rushing towards us at frightening speed. The avalanche is coming! Hurry up and run! Threw Yomogi over my shoulder. An avalanche? Huh? No way! Don't just stand there. Run! I yelled at them in the sternest voice I could manage. Tsumi and Tori took off running. I followed after them. Kuroko's gonna realize she can talk now, isn't she? I ran and ran and ran. A glowing white approached us, advancing on us unstoppably as a wave. Gigantic white monster. Mowing down every tree in its path, turning every rock it counted to dust. Its approach was unforgiving. The monster bared its fangs, and then it struck, right over our heads. Now it... Anima. There was nothing reflected in my eyes. A world closed off in darkness, a silence as cold as ice. There was nothing here. A space ruled only by nothingness spread before me. No, it probably couldn't even be called space. An existence had become infinitely close to zero. As the pressure of my surroundings pushed down on me, that point began to shift and change. At that moment, having been reduced to the zeroth dimension, the line between heaven and earth smeared. Darkness with no exit, inescapable ice. Could only feel constricting pressure all around me. I was powerless to struggle or even move my limbs. Not only could I not cry out, I couldn't even breathe. My mouth was sealed shut, my lungs crushed, and what felt like a fist was pressing down into my Adam's apple. It hurts. Every cell in my body was gasping for oxygen. It felt like a boiling hot liquid was slowly rising up my body. My consciousness was fading. I couldn't think. Only one thought floated in my head, somehow. Death. A premonition death. Soon my entire existence became zero. What? Someone's slapping me, I think. Or not. Ugh. 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 Phew, I thought I was gonna die. Shook my head and looked up to see Kokoro's face right next to mine. Are you okay? She looked me over anxiously. Her hands were covered in snow. Seems that she's the one who saved me. Yeah, I'm fine, I think. Thanks. After I thanked her, I took in my surroundings. Couldn't see my own body. Only my head and neck stuck out through the snow, as though my severed head had been put on display. Just wait a little longer, okay? I'll take you out of there. Sorry, please do. Kokoro dug her way through the snow. My shoulders were revealed, then my chest, until I was finally able to move my arms. It was a piece of cake after that. My arms free, I could crawl out of the snow by myself. The weather in the mountains can change easily. The sky had cleared up before I knew it. Looking down the steep slope, it appeared as if the corpse of the monstrous avalanche had been spread out in the shape of a fan. Oops. Huge masses of snow had fallen and scattered apart, so I was swallowed up by the avalanche, huh? Well, it sure didn't look like you were building a new snow fort. How did you know I was buried here? That's obvious, isn't it? Obvious. It's because we're united in body and soul, right? Cocoro giggled as she said that. The light of the morning sun illuminated her face, really brought out her feminine charm. Without thinking, I turned around and gathered her up in an embrace. Told us recently her body was my body. Right now, it wasn't mine at all. Another person's body, so to speak. The fact that I was another person's body made me extremely happy. Being able to hold it like this was like a dream. A dream? First time I fell into it, I thought it was a dream as well. But now I thought it was far more like a happy dream to be separated like this. Fact and fiction, it was difficult to tell what the difference was between them. But I was sure of one thing. The warmth permeating my chest, our heartbeats, and our breathing. The sound of these two reverberations overlapping with each other. That was the only thing that mattered now. Hey Satoru, there's one thing that's been bothering me. Mind if I ask? What is it? This is what you wrote in one of your messages. Second you can't say. Just what does that mean? And moreover, Cocoro and I have a connection that can't be severed. Red accepts blue entirely. You don't understand? No, but I don't. Then please go on without ever understanding. Told her before I go. Wait a second, tell me, I'm curious. Cocoro chased after me, lifting the hem of her skirt off the ground as she did. Oh, whoops. Hey, Satoru! Moreover, in the first place, Cocoro and Mind have an unbreakable connection to each other. Just notice this, but it seems like the character Satoru, the thingamajig, becomes I. Originally, the fact that I was me didn't change anything. Change either way. Interesting. And if you remember right, when the original Satoru, like for example at the start of the game where he's climbing the clock tower, and that ending where you find him with the guy in black, and Amuro, he keeps on saying I in italics. So he's Satoru without Cocoro, I'm guessing. But even then with Cocoro there, I becomes more like Satoru. Sakuchi Kansai. Maybe I've been trapped by this phenomenon myself. Of course it was because Cocoro was there that this phenomenon came into existence in the first place though. Dear, hang on dear. Itsumi's voice suddenly reached my ears. After I climbed a little way up the hill I could see her too. She was supporting the snow-covered Yomogi, shaking him back into consciousness periodically. Ugh. Darling, you okay? Yeah, somehow. I appear to be nigh invulnerable. Maybe I'm actually an interstellar traveler of some sort, you know? Being Yomogi Seiji, it's only natural to be capable of resurrect. Oh, you don't. Cutting him off mid-jerk, Utsumi flung himself into his arms. Yomogi caught her in a strong embrace and held her close. He buried his nose in her hair. Utsumi cried without holding back. She cried and cried, her sobs echoing as far as the distant mountain range. The sun rose above the ridges of the eastern mountains. Its rays showed down, casting a flickering shadow of gold over every snow surface it touched. I surveyed the grandeur of the snow-covered mountain scenery before us. At the base of the mountain was a wide field that still remained a verdant green with a clear brook running through. Till just now there'd been nothing but darkness, but as the sun rose, the black shadow of the mountain range retreated as though chased away. Now the field had turned to gold as well. Overwhelmed by the natural beauty of it, I stood there fascinated for so long that I forgot the passage of time entirely. It was magical, like a scene some god had painted just for us. Hey, how's life up here? By here, you mean? Here in heaven. Their conversation stepped me out of reverie. I pricked up my ears trying to pick up what they were saying. What do you mean by heaven? You say that as though I died. Yeah, that's right, isn't it? You're alive. Huh, just what happened anyway. Then where are we? On Mount Cocoro. Mount Cocoro, you mean? Yeah, that's right. Moreover, though, how did you get here? And therefore, with her. By her, you mean Atori-chan? Atori? I followed the direction of the gaze, and sure enough, there was Atori. She dropped to her knees in the snow. Cocoro was by her side, saying something to her. Atori-chan, are you okay? Hey, you feeling okay? Tori's eyes were blank. What? She didn't want to talk. Her mouth hung wide open as though her mind deserted her. Maybe the shock of the avalanche just before had rendered her unable to stand. She was at least able to give a tentative nod of her head, and to shake it in answer to Kokoro's question. It seemed like there was nothing to worry about there. More importantly, Yomogi, Utsumi, Atori, Cocoro, and myself, there were only 5 of us. Where did the remaining person go? Curiously, I approached Yomogi and Utsumi, and then before I called out to them, Yomogi spoke. Well, you really saved me there. Thanks to you, I've managed to escape with my life. Thanks a lot. If you gotta thank anyone, it should be Utsumi-san. She's the one who dug you out from under the snow. But you were the one who saved her in the first place. After directing a glance at Utsumi, Yomogi went on. If you'd gotten here even a moment later than you did, we'd probably all be sleeping in the big sleep under all that snow right now. You have my deepest thanks. I looked away from Yomogi and scratched at my nose. That's right, something I wanted to ask you. Turned to Utsumi as I did. It's about Uni. Where's he right now? If it's Uni-kun you're asking for? Utsumi turned and looked at the very top of the slope. There was a small silhouette near the ridge. It was heading this way, waving its hand furiously. Hey everyone, are you alright? It's coming to you right now, so wait there, okay? Wait, what? What's coming to me? According to Utsumi, this is what happened before the avalanche. Utsumi and Atori and Uni left through the front gate of Sphere. All 3 of them were then suddenly thrown into the extreme cold of Mount Cocoro, where they lost their way. Sphere had abruptly disappeared. Attempting to chase after the shadow of it, the 3 of them had begun wandering in a snowstorm. Eventually, after heading east for a while, a man's voice reached their ears. It was Yomogi's. This was how they had their chance meeting. Miraculously enough, they had met close to the point where the avalanche would occur, location X. More specifically, they met slightly above location X at the top of the steep. Of course, Yomogi tried to lead the 3 of them to the shelter cabin. However, at the very next moment, Utsumi and Atori disappeared from Yomogi's sight. 2 of them had stepped into a corner as the snow overhanging the ledge, which had collapsed under the weight, sending them tumbling down the slope. Yomogi tried to save them, but slipped and fell down the slope himself. This was how he'd injured his foot. A rock jutting out of the snow had gouged him pretty hard in the calf. Soon after, they came to a stop. They were on top of the wide shelf of rock just above the exact coordinates of location X. And that's where I came in. I don't think I need to repeat what happened next. That is why Uni was the only one not caught in the avalanche. A lot of that which we call history resides in darkness, never touched by light. The amount of history that humans can know is limited. No one could have imagined a sequence of events like this just from reading an article in a newspaper or a magazine. History was. Now that you mention it, after all this, just what kind of history will be written in the stream of time? There's no way they'd be able to find any decomposing bodies in July. Then on January 17th, in other words, today, what will history be like when the rescue team only discovers Uni? The course it will take depends on our actions right now, in the present. I still hadn't decided anything. Even I don't know what I was supposed to. My worries and annoyances have increased even more. However, I've run into the morning sunrise, the golden scenery, the magnificent view of the mountains. Before the mysterious beauty, all my worries were blown away without a trace. At any rate, I managed to solve them. History had already changed. I can think about the future later. Right now, it'd be fine just to let the sensation of everything coming to a close wash over me, so I thought. Suddenly, I felt someone tap my shoulder. I turned around to see Yomogi. Hey, can I ask you something? Huh? Just... who are you? The fresh breeze of a midwinter wind. I inhaled the crisp air with all my mind and shouted out. My name is Yukidoh Satoru. Fergie's gonna go like, what the fuck? What? That's it? That's it? I don't get it. What? There's so many unanswered questions though! What? I know there's a fourth ending, but the credits are different for this one, so I'm gonna confirm this with my friend, and I'm just gonna leave the credits running while I confirm this.
所に帰